Okay, everyone, in this lecture, I'm going to show you how you can obtain the Microsoft software, okay, for programming in C++, and then we will go through the sample program where we calculate the distance between 2 points, right? I'm going to show you how you run that program in the Microsoft software, and then we're going to modify that program to allow for inputs and outputs, okay? So, before we get into running that program, right, we obviously have to obtain the software. So the software that we're going to be using, or at least the recommended software, okay, for those of you that are going to be using PCs, right, this is definitely the recommended software. If you're using a Mac, you have other options, okay? Unfortunately, this Microsoft software is not available for the Mac, but you could Google, okay, and try to find a compiler. What you want to find is a C++ compiler, right, for your Mac operating system. I believe Xcode, right, works. It's free from Apple, so Xcode works, and there are other options out there as well. Okay, but unfortunately, I cannot give you support if you're using a Mac, right, since this class is being taught on the PC. However, you know, like I said, plenty of students in the past have used Macs, right, and there's plenty out there on the web to help you along with that. Okay. All right. So as far as those of you that are using PCs, okay, what you want to do to obtain this software is you want to go to Microsoft.com. Okay. Let me bring that up. So you go to Microsoft, okay, and then inside the search box, okay, just do a search for Visual Studio, and you see these different things that come up, right? So the latest version is 2015 Community, okay? The free version used to be called the Express, right? So you would use to search for Visual Studio Express. Okay, but in 2015, it's now called Community. Okay, that's the free version of the software. So I'm going to just use the term that they gave me here, Visual Studio 2015 Community. I'm going to search for it. Okay, and the very first link, Free Developer Tools, Visual Studio Community 2015. Right, you want to click on that. And you see that link to download Community 2015. Right, so you want to go ahead and download it. I'm not going to go ahead and download it here since I've already done so. It's already installed on my computer, right? But you want to go ahead and download it and then run that application file that's downloaded. Okay. Something very important I need to point out to you when you go ahead and run that file that's downloaded. Okay. The first thing that pops up when you run it is this little window that gives you some options, right? And it's basically going to ask you if you want to run the standard, if you want to install the standard version of the software, or if you want to install some custom features. Okay? Make sure, this is very important, that you choose the custom installation. Okay? The standard or default installation does not install C++ on your computer, right? C++ is, of course, what we're programming in. The standard one, I believe, installs JavaScript and C#. So C# is not C++, okay? C# is a new language that Microsoft has developed, and it's based on C++, so it's very similar, but it's not C++, okay? It will not work for this course. So definitely make sure you you click the custom installation. And once you click that, okay, the window that pops up will let you choose languages. You want to expand the languages and make sure you check off C++, okay? If you do not do this, then you will not be able to write C++ programs, okay? And you would either have to add that feature or uninstall it and reinstall it, okay? So that's very important. Make sure you do the custom install, and once you do the custom install, choose C++ under your programming languages, okay? And once you do that, it will install the software for free on your computer, and you're ready to go, okay? So the first time you run the software, it's gonna take a while for it to start up, and it does take a while for it to install, right? But once that's all done, then you're ready to start programming, okay? So I am going to run my Visual Studio program. Go to All Apps, right? And scroll down to Visual Studio 2015. Okay, I click on it, wait for it to start up. Okay, and this is what comes up. Okay, so just the only important thing here, okay, that I want to point out is this very left panel that says Visual Studio, right? You can see that there are a few links here where I can start a new project, I can open the project, right? And then open from source control. So for most of what you're going to do, if you start a new program, a new assignment, okay, then you're going to choose new project. A project is what Microsoft calls a program that you write, okay? Because a project is not just a C++ file, okay? There's a bunch of supporting files that are created to go along with it, all right? So choose new project, right? An alternative is to just go up to the menu at the top of the page on the left, right? And choose File, New, and Project. Okay, so it's the same thing. The panel here just gives you a shortcut, okay, to doing that. All right, so I'm going to start a new project. Okay, and then you see this little window that pops up, okay, and all the way on the left where it says templates, okay, these are all the different programming languages that are available in Visual Studio. Okay, so you notice by default it's Visual C#. C#, like I said earlier, is not what we want. Okay, Microsoft is really pushing C#. They want people to develop window applications using C#. All right, but again, it's not what we want. So I'm going to collapse that, right, and choose the Visual C++ one. Okay, and that's why it was important that you did that custom install. If you did not do that custom install, this Visual C++ option will not be available. So you won't be able to write C++ programs. Okay, so I expand that C++, and then I'm going to make sure I choose Win32. Okay, so within Visual C++, you can see you could create all different types of programs. You could create Windows applications, ATL, I'm not even sure what that is, right? CLR, General, MFC, Test, Cross-Platform, so on and so forth. Okay, but anyway, I want a Win32. Okay, and then within Win32, you see on the middle here, you could choose between Win32 console application or a Win32 project. All right, you want to make sure you choose Win32 console application for this course. A console application, okay, is basically a text-based program. It's the simplest type of program that you could create, right? And that's all we need for this course. So we're always going to choose the Win32 console application. Okay, and then down on the bottom here, you could give your project a name. All right, so I don't want to use the default console application one. I want to just name this test. All right, we're testing our Visual Studio installation here. And then under location, you can see that there's a default. Right, it basically saves it under Documents, Visual Studio, and then it creates a projects folder. I would not suggest doing this, right, unless you're using your own computer and you're going to keep all your projects in one place. Right? For those of you that might be running this, like in the computer labs at school, I would not save it under the default because then it's just harder to get at, right? Because a lot of times, if you don't finish, you want to bring your work home with you, and it would be harder for you to find it at that default location. Okay, so I would actually suggest that you just browse all the way to the desktop, okay? And just save your work on the desktop. It makes it much easier to locate, okay? So I choose desktop, okay? And actually, what you'll want to do is create a new folder on the desktop, okay? So let me cancel out of this for now. Okay, I actually want to go back and create a folder on my desktop for this project. Okay, so I create a new folder on my desktop, and I'm just going to call it test, just like I'm going to name my project. Okay, so let me go ahead, expand this again. Okay, and now I'm going to start that new project again. Okay, so make sure, again, just to remind you, all right, it's Visual C++. So Visual, for those of you that are curious, right, Visual is just the word Microsoft uses for their version of every programming language, right? So when Microsoft produces a basic compiler, they call it Visual Basic, right? When they produce a C++ compiler, they call it Visual C++. That's just Microsoft speak, okay? So anyway, Visual C++, Win32 console application, right? I'm going to call my project test. Then I will browse to the desktop and to that project folder that I've created, okay? So desktop, test, select folder, okay? And make sure that this little box on the bottom here is clicked, right, where it says create directory for solution. It just makes the files that you're going to need easier to locate, okay? And once I do that, I'm going to hit OK. And this wizard pops up, okay? So this is important. This wizard, okay, do not just click finish on the first page of this wizard, okay? Click next. And then on this next page, make sure you see that console application is checked off. And then on the bottom here, you want to make sure you check off empty project, okay? Empty project means it won't give you any pre-made files, because a lot of those pre-made files end up interfering with your program, and then your program won't run. Okay, so make sure you choose empty project and then click finish. And once you do that, now you could actually start writing your program. Okay, so now I basically get this blank area to work with, right? That's where my text editor is going to be. Okay, the text editor is where you actually type in your program. And I mentioned in the first half of this lecture that the Microsoft text editor is very smart. Okay, it's very easy to use. It will do all your formatting for you. Okay, so you don't need to worry about indents and anything like that. Okay, it takes care of all of it for you. Don't try to outsmart it. Just let it do its work. Okay. All right, so what I do from here, okay, is I head over to the right panel. See the panel that says Solution Explorer, right? This is a directory tree, and all your programs can really be stored under source files. That's the last folder that you see here, okay? All the other folders are for storing different types of files. Basically, as your projects get larger and larger and you have multiple files, Microsoft basically gives you these different folders to store different types of files. But all you really need is this source files folder. It doesn't matter how many files you have, actually. They could all be saved under source files. Okay, so that's all you need. So what I'm going to do is I go to source files and I right-click. Okay, once I right-click, you see this little option list that comes up, right? I will choose Add, then New Item. Okay, and then what you're going to see is just two choices. You have a C++ file, that's the CPP extension, or a header file with the H extension. Right? What you want is the CPP, okay, C++ file. Give it a name. This is going to default to source.cpp. That's fine. If you want to name it something else, that's fine as well. Okay, I will just accept the default. Then I'm going to click add. Okay, once you do that, that blank portion becomes white. This is your text editor. All right, and this is where you would start typing your program. Now, we are going to try and run that program where we were calculating the distance between 2 points, right? So I'm not going to waste my time retyping that whole program. What I'm going to do is bring up my lecture notes, right? And I'll copy and paste this over. Okay, so keep in mind, right? Remember there were 2 pages. So I'm going to copy this first page, Control C, right? Go back to Visual Studio. Do a Control V. Okay, then I'm going to hit enter and make sure I go back and copy the second page. Okay, so here's the second page. I will copy this as well. Control C, all right, go back to Visual Studio, Control V. Okay, and you notice, right, there are indents put in for me. So that's how smart this is. You notice the different colors, right? Again, it will try to color code things for you, okay? Important commands that it recognizes, certain important things it puts in red print. It puts comments in green, okay? And then certain important keywords like your types, double, integer, and whatever, it puts in blue, so on and so forth, okay? Anytime you have a syntax error, something it doesn't recognize, it will underline it in red. So you might notice that we've got some of those here, okay? And the reason for that is when I copied and pasted over, or in my PowerPoint slides, those symbols were incorrect, okay? So the subtraction symbol is not a long dash, it's actually a short dash. Okay, so I'm going to go and replace that, retype it, since that's not recognized. Okay, and actually, this is probably easier if I made this a larger size. Let me double the size of this. Okay, hopefully this is easier for people to see. Okay, notice the underlines, right? So I am going to do this line where it says side 1 is equal to x2 minus x1. Right? What I was saying is that that minus sign is incorrect. That's not really a minus sign. That's a long dash. So I'm just going to replace it with the correct symbol. Notice that underscore went away, right? So now it's not a syntax error. I do the same thing here with y2 minus y1. And then the other error is this cout statement. These double quotes are the wrong type. Okay, so again, I'm going to clear that out and put in the correct double quotes. The end quotes as well, of course, have to be replaced. Okay, and now you notice that that went away. All right, so this program is now complete. It's ready to run. All right, and this is very important. I'm going to show you exactly how you run your programs. Okay, there's no need to save. Okay, once you made all your changes, you actually do not need to save anything. All you do is hold down your control key and hold down your F7 key. I'm sorry, not F7, Control F5. Okay, so hold down Control, hold down F5, and hold on a second here. On my computer, it's actually not the Control key. Okay, I have a newer laptop, so I'm going to hold down my function key. But for most of you, you hold down the Control key. Okay, so Control, then F5. And you see this little window that pops up, right? It says the project is out of date. Would you like to build it? Okay? You're going to say yes. And once you say yes, it will save all your changes, so you don't need to resave anything. And then it will compile, which, remember what compile means, right? It will convert your program into machine language, and then it'll run it for you. Okay? So say yes. And then you see a new window that pops up on the bottom here. Right, it's going to give you some messages, okay? Let me see here. So I've got some errors. Okay, it seems like this is a bad install. Give me a second here. PDB file. Control. Okay, I've got a little bit of an error here. Okay, so this is not a syntax error. This is an error that has to do with my install. Okay. Let me see. Let me see if I can figure this out. Okay. So let me restart Visual Studio here. Okay, it might have run into some kind of an issue. I am done with my slides. I'll close that out. Okay, let me restart Visual Studio. Bear with me here. All right, so all apps. Okay, and once I restart this, okay, I don't need to open up a new project, right? I'm going to open up an existing project. So that's the middle choice, open project, okay? And I go to desktop, right where I saved it. I go to test, okay, test, and there's my project file, okay? Open it. Okay, it brought it back up. Let me see if it's going to run now. Okay, so Control F5. And it's still not working. Let me see. Okay. It looks like on my computer, okay, the Control F5 no longer works, okay? So the way I have to run mine, okay, is I go to debug on the menu, okay, and then just start without debugging. I mean, Visual Studio has a bunch of debugging tools that, that will help you with trying to find errors, okay? But for now, I'm just going to show you how you run it without using any of those tools, right? So it's under debug and then start without debugging. And you can see on there, right? Control F5 is the shortcut. Unfortunately, on this computer, my Surface, it doesn't work. Control F5 is not, what do you do? Okay, so anyway, I have to run mine this way. Okay, and you can see the result, right? It says, this little black window pops up. That's your console, right? So that's why this is called a console application. Notice it's nothing fancy, right? There are no buttons or anything like that. It's all text. But it does say the distance between the 2 points is 3.60555. Okay, so this is 5 decimal places, right? Remember what we went through, right, in the first part of the lecture about changing the number of decimal places, right? So let's go ahead and add in that feature, okay? So I'm going to go back to the program, okay? And let me blow it up again. All right, this is a little better, okay? And we are going to put in, okay, the commands that allows us to specify how many decimal places. Okay, so remember what that requires, right? It requires a new built-in library. So up where I have my includes, I'm going to put in include IO manip. Okay? IO manip. And then let's use the first method. The first method, if you remember, is before you do any couts, which is right here. Okay, so before my couts, I am going to put in the command that says cout, right? Remember set F, right? It says set the format, and then I want a fixed number of decimal places. Okay, and don't forget your semicolon. And then the next command is cout.precision, right? Precision is how many decimal places you want. And let's say I want 3, okay? So semicolon. All right, and now I'm going to run it again. So I go to debug, start without debugging. Would you like to build it? Yes, right? And wait for it to build. Okay, and now look what it says. The distance between the 2 points is 3.606. That's 3 decimal places. Okay? Let me show you the other way of putting in, of specifying your decimal places, right? So let me comment out these 2 lines. Oops, okay? I'm just going to put in 2 slashes on both 2 lines. Remember, the 2 slashes will make those comments, right? So now the computer won't run those lines. And let's show you how the other way of changing your decimal places works, right? So that in that way, everything is in line with this cout statement, okay? So cout, all right, and then before I print anything out, I am going to do the command fixed, right? And then remember set precision. And let's change it to 3 again, okay? And that should do the exact same thing as the previous method, right? So start without debugging. It's going to ask me if I want to save it. Yes, right? And look, 3.606 again, okay? All right, so that's how you change your number of decimal points, okay? The next thing that we're going to do, okay, is we want to change this program. So now it's going to ask us for our points, all right, x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, so what we do first is I'm going to get rid of these initial values, okay? Just go ahead and delete those. Delete the parentheses and the values inside those parentheses because you don't need initial values anymore, right? Now they're going to be put in as inputs. Okay, so now I have that. And then I want to ask for those values, right? So remember what that means, right? You need a cout. I'm going to do this in one cout, meaning I'm going to ask for all 4 values at once, right? You could ask for 1 value at a time, right? Remember during the first part of the lecture, right? That would mean 4 sets of couts and cins. Okay, but I'm going to do it all in one shot. So we're going to do cout, right? In quotes, I'm going to say something like enter values for x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, don't forget your semicolon, right? Then I do a cin, and now I want x1, y1, x2, y2. Y2, okay, with a semicolon. And notice it formatted it for me. All right, and now I'm going to run it. So debug, start without debugging. Okay, would you like to run it? Yes. Okay, so now look, I get this message that says enter values for x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, and remember, you can separate your values by using the enter key, by using a space. I believe a semicolon works, or by using the tab. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and let's make our first point the origin. So 0, comma 0, right? And make our second point something simple for the first attempt. Let's say 5, 5, right? Or yeah, 5, 5 is fine. Okay, 5, 5. Hit enter. Okay, the distance between the 2 points is 7.071. Okay, let's run it again with a different set of values. Okay, then let's just put in something random here. Negative 50, right? 22, 36, negative 10. Okay, distance between the 2 points is 91.761. And you could check the correctness of the result if you want, right? But anyway, this shows you how you basically type in a program and run it, right? And I hope this also shows you how you make use of those cout and cin statements, okay? So even though I will not make this a mandatory exercise, what you should do on your own, okay, is try and do what I just did, okay? Make sure you can run Visual Studio, right? Whether you have it at home on your own computer or you use one of the school's computers. Unfortunately, I don't know which computers at Nova have Visual Studio installed. Okay, so you're gonna have to ask around, ask the people that work at the computer labs. Okay, there are a few computer labs that have Visual Studio installed. Okay, hopefully, I mean, everybody is gonna have access, right, to a computer that has Visual Studio. If you do not, you'll have to talk to me when I get back. Okay, but definitely, if you don't have access, try and work with someone who does. Okay, and go through this exercise. Okay. And make sure, you know, because you're going to be writing programs, right? You want to make sure you could you could set everything up, okay, before you actually get your first assignment. Okay? So if there are any questions, please email me. Okay? Otherwise, this will be it for the week 2 lecture. Okay? So let me sign off here. And just keep your eyes and ears open for the 3rd lecture, right? And after the 3rd lecture, I should be hopefully back in the States, and I will be able to meet you guys in person from that point on. Okay? So until next time, this is Professor Lin signing off.